They cross valleys, rivers, and oceans. They link people, cities, and even entire nations. Some defy gravity, others look like they came straight out of a dream. But all of them have one thing in common. They are true works of art and engineering. In this video, you will discover the most breathtaking bridges on the planet. Structures that not only connect 2 points on a map, but also reveal human creativity, courage, and spirit at their most magnificent. Fredvang Bridge, Norway. In the far north of Norway rises a bridge that seems to float above the icy waters of the sea, the Fredvang Bridge. Located in the Lofoten Islands, an archipelago known for its dramatic beauty and wild nature, the Fredvang Bridge is not merely a concrete structure connecting 2 pieces of land. It is a story of human persistence, of engineering in harmony with nature, and of communities that refuse to be isolated by the ocean. For centuries, the residents of the small villages of Moskenesoya and Flakstadøya lived separated by the turbulent waters of the Norwegian Sea. Fredvang, a small fishing village on the island of Moskenesoya, was especially isolated. Access was only possible by boat, vulnerable to the severe weather that often strikes the Arctic. Floods, snowstorms, and piercing winds frequently prevented crossing, leaving the villagers at the mercy of nature. During the winter months, life became even harder. Children often missed school, supplies arrived late, and medical emergencies could turn into tragedies. The bridge's construction was approved by the Norwegian government as part of a national project to improve infrastructure in the country's most remote regions. Officially named Fredvang Bruain, in plural form because it consists of 2 interconnected bridges, the project aimed to permanently connect Fredvang to the island of Flakstadøya, integrating the village into the archipelago's road network. Construction began in 1986 and lasted until 1988. Those were 2 years of relentless effort, facing freezing cold, merciless winds, and the challenge of building in one of Europe's most inhospitable terrains. But Norwegian engineering had already proven its excellence in other demanding works. The Fredvang Bridge would become yet another testament to humankind's ability to overcome the limits imposed by geography. The total length of the bridges is approximately 787 feet, but their impact goes far beyond physical dimensions. For the residents of Fredvang, the bridge represents a lifeline, a symbol of freedom and safety. No longer dependent on the whims of the sea, the locals gained constant access to healthcare, education, commerce, and the other urban centers of the Lofoten Islands. Despite its poetic beauty, the bridge remains an engineering marvel. Designed to withstand winds of more than 124 miles per hour, temperatures below -4 degrees Fahrenheit, and extreme humidity, it represents a perfect balance between strength and elegance. Glenfinnan Viaduct, Scotland. In the Scottish Highlands lies one of the most iconic achievements of Victorian engineering, the Glenfinnan Viaduct, a structure that carries not only trains, but also the imagination of generations. Rising above the deep green valley of Glenfinnan, this majestic viaduct winds like a sleeping giant made of concrete and dreams. It has 21 arches, each 49 feet wide, stretching for more than 1,247 feet at a height of about 98 feet above the ground. The 19th century was an era of expansion and modernization. The Industrial Revolution was transforming the United Kingdom, and the rails of progress cut through the landscape like veins of iron. Scotland, with its challenging geography and isolated villages, was a territory waiting to be conquered by the railway. The mission to connect these lands to the rest of the country fell into the hands of visionary engineers. Between 1897 and 1901, the Glenfinnan Viaduct took shape under the supervision of engineer Sir Robert McAlpine, a name that would go down in history as one of the pioneers in the large-scale use of reinforced concrete. The viaduct was part of the West Highland Line, a railway built to connect Fort William to Mallaig, cutting through rugged and remote landscapes. The line was vital for transporting fish, livestock and passengers, opening new possibilities for the isolated communities of Scotland's west coast. Local legends tell that workers came from all over the United Kingdom and even from Ireland, seeking employment on the line's construction. Temporary camps sprang up around the area, and for months the valley echoed with the sounds of drills, hammers and songs of labourers. Despite the hardships, the work progressed with remarkable precision. Concrete was poured into wooden moulds and slowly solidified, forming arches that seemed to defy gravity. When completed, the viaduct was hailed as a wonder of modern engineering. Its curved layout, following the shape of the valley, was not only aesthetically stunning but also functional, ensuring the train's stability through the line's sharp bends. And it was precisely this cinematic landscape that, more than a century later, would elevate the Glenfinnan Viaduct to international fame. In the late 1990s, a British film production searched for locations that captured the essence of the fantastic, the magical, and the timeless, and found in the Scottish Highlands the perfect setting to bring the Harry Potter saga to life. Rui Bridge, China. Imagine a bridge so astonishing that it seems to have leapt from the pages of a science fiction story or from the sketchbook of a dreamer architect. A structure that defies gravity, dazzles the eyes and bends the mind. In the heart of China, among the mountains of Zhejiang province, stands a bridge that connects more than just 2 points on a map. It connects the present to the future, engineering to art, the real to the surreal. This is the Rui Bridge, located in Taizhou County, in Shengxianju, a mountainous region known for its mystical landscapes and rock formations sculpted by time. The Rui Bridge rises like a living sculpture amid nature. Opened in 2020, this pedestrian bridge became, in just a few months, a global tourist sensation, a social media phenomenon, and a masterpiece praised by architects and engineers alike. But its story began long before the first camera click. The conception of the Rui Bridge was born from a rare combination: architectural ambition, aesthetic sensitivity, and a touch of boldness. Inspired by the traditional Chinese object known as the ruyi, a curved scepter symbolizing power, luck, and prosperity, the bridge was designed to convey more than functionality. It needed to tell a story. It needed to move people. Architect He Yunchang, known for his work on projects such as the Beijing National Stadium, the Bird's Nest, was one of the creative forces behind this daring venture. He didn't want to build just another bridge. He wanted to create a sensory experience, something that would challenge human perception and evoke emotion while crossing it. The Rui Bridge was therefore designed with flowing shapes, overlapping layers and asymmetrical curves that resemble the organic contours of a ribbon floating in the air. With a total length of about 328 feet and suspended more than 460 feet above the valley, the bridge is composed of 3 interlaced curved walkways connected at different levels. The structure gives the illusion of motion, as if it were alive, gently swaying with the wind. The walkways are made of tempered glass, offering a vertigo-inducing view of the abyss below, a design choice that inspires both admiration and chills. Building the bridge required an extraordinary level of technical precision and courage. The mountains of Shengxianju are notoriously hard to access, meaning that transporting materials and equipment was a challenge in itself. Creative solutions were necessary, such as using helicopters to carry heavy components and providing specialized training for workers to operate at extreme heights and under unpredictable weather conditions. Kintai-kyo, Iwakuni, Japan. Kintai-kyo, located in the tranquil city of Iwakuni in Yamaguchi Prefecture, Japan, is not only a symbol of traditional Japanese engineering, but also a living link to the country's feudal past. It all began in 1673, during the Edo period, when Iwakuni was a han, a feudal domain, governed by the Kikawa family. At that time, crossing the Nishiki River was a constant challenge. Ordinary wooden bridges were easily destroyed by seasonal floods. The solution had to be not only functional, but also a reflection of the Kikawa clan's prestige. Thus was born the design of Kintai-kyo, a bridge composed of 5 wooden arches supported by massive stone pillars. Its innovative design was carefully calculated to resist the river's force while displaying an unmistakable elegance. The construction technique, which required no metal nails, used extremely precise wooden joints, a hallmark of traditional Japanese carpentry. Over the following centuries, Kintai-kyo bravely withstood numerous natural disasters, being restored and maintained with almost ceremonial devotion. However, in 1950, a powerful passage of Typhoon Kezia swept away part of the structure, forcing the local population to rebuild it. The restoration, completed in 1953, employed the same artisanal methods as the original construction. Honoring the wisdom of 17th century master craftsmen. Beyond its structure, the bridge is also a cultural stage. Every year, at the beginning of spring, the banks of the Nishiki River are transformed into a spectacle of color as the cherry blossoms bloom. Thousands of visitors gather for Hanami, the traditional flower viewing festival, with the bridge serving as a natural frame for this ancient ritual. There is also the Kintai-kyo festival, held on April 29th, where residents and visitors dress in Edo period costumes, reenacting parades and ceremonies that recreate feudal daily life. On this day, the bridge ceases to be just a physical structure and becomes a passageway between two worlds, the past and the present. The symbolism of Kintai-kyo runs deep. Its 5 arches represent not only architectural mastery, but also the 5 elements of Japanese Buddhism: earth, water, fire, wind, and void. Each crossing, even in silence, becomes a ritual, a moment of introspection. Tower Bridge, London, England. Rising over the River Thames as one of London's most unmistakable landmarks, Tower Bridge is far more than a drawbridge. It is a declaration of power, engineering, and history. Tower Bridge began to take shape in the late 19th century, when London's expansion demanded a new crossing over the Thames. The existing bridges, such as London Bridge, could no longer handle the growing flow of pedestrians and vehicles. But there was a dilemma: how to build a bridge in the eastern part of the city, near the busy Port of London, without interrupting river traffic essential to commerce. The solution came from a public competition in 1876, which sought proposals for a bridge that would be both functional and visually compatible with the historic Tower of London nearby. Among more than 50 designs, the bold plan of engineer Sir John Wolfe Barry, in collaboration with architect Sir Horace Jones, was chosen. The idea was revolutionary. A drawbridge with two massive stone and steel towers connected by high-level walkways, allowing the central span to open for passing ships. Construction began in 1886 and lasted 8 years. More than 400 workers took part in the project, which required around 12,000 US tons of steel to form the main framework. This skeleton was then clad in granite and Portland stone, providing not only strength, but also a visual harmony with the surrounding medieval architecture. The official opening took place on June 30th, 1894, in the presence of the Prince of Wales, the future King Edward VII. At that moment, Tower Bridge was not merely a transportation solution, it was a triumph of Victorian engineering. Its movable roadways, known as bascules, could be lifted in less than 2 minutes, operated by an ingenious steam-powered hydraulic system. This advanced technology used pressurized water stored in giant accumulators to raise the bridge's arms whenever a ship needed to pass. The result was a spectacle of precision and power, a daily routine for Londoners that never ceased to amaze visitors. Throughout the 20th century, the bridge witnessed the city's dramatic transformations. During the Second World War bombings, Tower Bridge remained intact, a symbol of endurance amid devastation. Over time, its original steam hydraulic mechanism was replaced by a modern electro-hydraulic system in the 1970s, maintaining its functionality without compromising its historic charm. Pont du Gard, France. In the sunny south of France, caressed by the gentle Mediterranean winds and surrounded by the limestone hills of Languedoc, stands one of the most breathtaking feats of Roman engineering, the majestic Pont du Gard. The Pont du Gard was built in the 1st century AD, during the reign of Emperor Claudius, though some scholars attribute its origin to Augustus. It was part of an ambitious aqueduct system designed to supply water to the Roman city of Nemausus, modern-day Nimes. A route of approximately 31 miles was meticulously planned to carry crystal-clear spring water from a source near Uzès to the heart of Nîmes. This seemingly simple path concealed immense topographical challenges. The total elevation drop between the source and the city was only 56 feet, less than 1.5 feet per mile, an almost imperceptible descent that required millimeter-level precision to ensure continuous water flow by gravity. To span the valley of the Garden River, Roman engineers conceived the largest and tallest section of the aqueduct, the Pont du Gard itself. Standing 161 feet high and stretching 902 feet long, the bridge is divided into 3 tiers of arches. The first level has 6 large arches, the second 11, and the third, narrower and more delicate, contains 35 small arches. Each block of limestone quarried locally was cut with precision and fitted without mortar. Only the weight and ingenuity of its builders have kept the structure intact for nearly 2,000 years. The construction of Pont du Gard mobilized hundreds of workers, from slaves to highly skilled craftsmen. It is estimated that about 55,000 US tons of stone were used, transported with clever logistics involving ox-drawn carts, wooden scaffolding and winch systems. The entire work was completed in less than 5 years, an extraordinary achievement, even by Roman standards. But the story of Pont du Gard did not end with the fall of the Roman Empire. Centuries later, even after the aqueduct system fell into disuse and Nîmes was seized by barbarian tribes, the bridge endured. Over time, it lost its original purpose as a water conduit, but found new uses. During the Middle Ages, it served as a crossing for pedestrians and livestock. Later, during the Renaissance, it drew the admiration of scholars and travelers enchanted by its aesthetic perfection. Navajo Bridges, Grand Canyon, United States. In the heart of the vast Arizona desert, two structures stand side by side like sentinels of steel and concrete above the mighty Colorado River. They are the Navajo Bridges, twin monuments to human ingenuity, to the conquest of isolation, and to the determination to overcome the most challenging geography in the United States. The story of the Navajo Bridges begins long before their construction. For centuries, the deep, impassable canyon of the Colorado divided the northern and southern regions of what is now the state of Arizona. For the Native American tribes of the region, especially the Navajo, Hopi, and Paiute peoples, crossing the river was a dangerous task, performed only at strategic points and always at great risk. The crossing demanded time, effort, and often courage in the face of the relentless currents of the Colorado River. With the advance of colonization and the development of the American West in the 19th century, the need for a permanent crossing point became evident. The nearest route between the north and south of the state involved a journey of more than 250 miles. The idea of a bridge crossing Marble Canyon, one of the narrowest and deepest sections of the Grand Canyon, began to take shape within the halls of the US government. In 1927, after years of planning and technical debate, construction of the first bridge began. It would be named Navajo Bridge, in honor of the indigenous people of the region. Engineers chose one of the narrowest points of Marble Canyon, where the cliffs allowed for a relatively short, yet still challenging, crossing of about 820 feet in length. The construction faced extreme obstacles: scorching heat, nearly impossible logistics, and brutally uneven terrain. With no major road access, workers and equipment were transported to the site via improvised trails. Every piece of steel was hoisted with cables and assembled with millimetric precision. The bridge was completed in 1929, reaching an impressive 466 feet above the riverbed. At the time, it was one of the highest bridges in the world. The inauguration ceremony was attended by hundreds of people, including federal government representatives and Navajo leaders. For the first time, a permanent link united northern and southern Arizona, paving the way for economic development, tourism, and the integration of once isolated communities. Sydney Harbour Bridge, Australia. Since the earliest days of European colonization, the geography of Sydney's harbour presented logistical challenges. The city, divided by the splendid Sydney Harbour, grew rapidly throughout the 19th and 20th centuries. However, the absence of a direct physical connection between the northern and southern sides of the harbour imposed significant limitations. Crossing the waters required ferries or long detours over land. Thus was born the idea of a bridge uniting the two ends of the city. Long before its construction became reality, the bridge already lived in the public imagination. As early as 1815, engineer Francis Greenway proposed a crossing over the bay, an idea considered far too visionary for its time. Decades passed, and only in the 20th century did the project begin to take concrete form. After World War I, Australia sought projects that would boost the economy and unite its people. Building a monumental bridge seemed a natural step toward progress. In 1922, after years of studies, the New South Wales government approved the bridge's construction. The project was awarded to the British company Dorman Long & Co Ltd of Middlesbrough, specialists in steel structures. The chief engineer, John Bradfield, played a central role, leading with vision and determination. Construction began in 1924. At a time when tools and technology were far more rudimentary than today, erecting such a massive structure was a titanic feat. The bridge's main structure, an arch, would be built simultaneously from both shores of the harbour, with the two sides meeting perfectly in the centre, a true spectacle of precision. More than 1,400 workers were directly employed in its construction. Conditions were harsh, risks were constant, and worker safety was still an emerging concern. After nearly a decade of continuous work, the Sydney Harbour Bridge was officially inaugurated on March 19, 1932. Measuring 3,770 feet in total length and rising 440 feet at its highest point, the bridge soon earned the affectionate nickname the Coat Hanger due to its distinctive shape. It accommodates 8 lanes of road traffic, 2 railway lines, a bicycle path and a pedestrian walkway. During the Great Depression, the bridge's construction provided jobs and income for hundreds of families. However, there were criticisms. The total cost of the project was extraordinarily high for the time, around £6,250,000 sterling, and it took decades to fully repay the debt. Even so, the long-term benefits far outweighed the sacrifices. The bridge became a catalyst for urban growth and metropolitan integration. Istanbul Bridge, Turkey. At the crossroads between East and West, where past and present intertwine indelibly, stands a bridge that connects not only shores, but civilizations. The Bosphorus Bridge, officially named the July 15th Martyrs Bridge, is one of the most iconic landmarks of modern Turkey. For centuries, the city of Istanbul, once Byzantium, later Constantinople, was shaped by its geography. Divided by the Bosphorus Strait, which links the Black Sea to the Sea of Marmara, the city grew across 2 continents, Europe and Asia. This geographical division, both obstacle and asset, challenged urban and commercial mobility in the metropolis. For a long time, boats and ferries were the only means of crossing. The idea of a bridge across the Bosphorus was not new. Even during the Ottoman Empire, there was speculation about linking both sides of the city with a permanent structure. Centuries passed before modernity and engineering converged to make the dream a reality. In the 1950s and 1960s, as Istanbul rapidly urbanized and its vehicle fleet grew, the need to solve increasing congestion and improve urban integration became urgent. The Turkish government decided to move forward with an ambitious plan to build a suspension bridge directly connecting the European and Asian sides of the city. In 1968, contracts were signed, and the British consortium Freeman Fox and Partners was tasked with the design. Construction officially began in 1970, The selected site connected the neighborhoods of Ortaköy on the European side and Beylerbeyi on the Asian side. The bridge would be a suspension structure supported by massive steel cables stretched between two towering pylons. The project involved more than 30 international companies and hundreds of engineers and workers. The bridge was completed in record time, just 3 years after construction began. On October 29, 1973, marking the 50th anniversary of the Republic of Turkey, the Bosphorus Bridge was officially inaugurated. The bridge has a total length of 5,120 feet and a main span of 3,525 feet, which placed it at the time of its inauguration among the largest suspension bridges in the world. Its towers rise 542 feet high, and the bridge deck stands about 210 feet above sea level, allowing the passage of large vessels. Szechenyi Bridge. The Szechenyi Bridge began not with steel or stone, but with a failed crossing. It is said that István Szechenyi, one of Hungary's greatest reformers, was prevented from crossing the Danube to visit his ailing father because the river had frozen over, forcing him to miss the funeral. This event deeply shaped his vision of progress. Szechenyi became convinced that Hungary needed a permanent link between its two greatest cities, which until then had been separated by both water and ideology. That reformist spirit gave rise to the project of the first permanent bridge over the Danube on Hungarian soil. Until then, crossings were made by ferry or in winter over the ice. The bridge would not only be an engineering achievement, but also a symbol of national unity and technological advancement. In 1832, Szechenyi persuaded the Hungarian parliament of the project's necessity and secured financial backing, partly from his own personal fortune. Construction began in 1839, supervised by the Scottish engineer Adam Clark, no relation to the project's designer, despite sharing the same surname. The work faced numerous challenges, including technical difficulties, resistance from conservative sectors of society, and even natural disasters. But nothing stopped the bridge's progress. In 1849, after 10 years of work, and amid the revolutionary upheavals sweeping across Europe, the chain bridge was finally inaugurated. The bridge, 1,230 feet long with two massive stone arches adorned with lions, quickly became a symbol not only of the city, but of all Hungary. For the first time, it was possible to cross the Danube on foot or by carriage without depending on the forces of nature, a feat of modernity that connected not only physical but also cultural worlds. But what seemed to be an indestructible landmark soon faced its own ghosts. During World War II in 1945, retreating German forces destroyed all the bridges in Budapest, including the Szechenyi. The structure, which had withstood time, weather, and political crises, collapsed under the impact of bombs. The post-war period brought a new challenge, rebuilding what had been lost. The chain bridge was among the first to be restored, such was its symbolic importance. The reconstruction maintained its original features, preserving the neoclassical style and architectural details that had made it famous. The four stone lions, sculpted by János Marsalko, once again stood guard at the ends of the bridge, meticulously restored. Rialto Bridge, Venice, Italy. It all began in the 12th century, when the city of Venice, then an emerging mercantile power, needed to connect the two banks of the Grand Canal. Initially, a floating bridge made of boats tied side by side served as an improvised crossing. This rudimentary type of bridge, known as the Ponte della Moneta, met basic needs but offered no permanent solution for the ever-growing flow of people and goods. It was only in 1255 that a wooden bridge was built, marking the first serious attempt to create a solid connection between the districts of San Marco and San Polo. This bridge, named Rialto Bridge after the nearby market of the same name, quickly became a vital center of trade and movement. Over the years, it underwent several repairs and reconstructions, often damaged by fires, collapses, and even the weight of the crowds that crossed it daily. The wooden bridge featured a drawbridge structure, allowing large vessels to pass. However, this made it unstable and vulnerable. In 1444, during an event when crowds gathered to witness the Marquis of Ferrara's wedding, the bridge collapsed under the weight of the people. This tragedy reinforced the need for a more durable reconstruction. The definitive solution, however, would only come in the 16th century. In 1588, after decades of debate, public competitions and proposals from renowned architects, including Michelangelo and Palladio, the project was finally awarded to Antonio da Ponte, a Venetian engineer. His bold proposal envisioned a single-arch stone bridge, both strong and aesthetically grand. Many contemporaries doubted its feasibility. How could a single arch bear the constant weight and motion of the city? Against all expectations, the structure was completed in 1591. With its 157 feet in length and 72 feet in width, the new Rialto Bridge instantly became an engineering masterpiece and a symbol of Venetian pride. Oresund Bridge, Sweden. Between the cold, restless waters of the Öresund Strait, a monumental structure stretches like a vital artery connecting two nations, Sweden and Denmark. The Öresund Bridge, Öresundsbron in local terms, is far more than a feat of modern engineering. The idea of a fixed connection between continental Scandinavia and the Jutland Peninsula is not new. For decades, dreams, projects, and discussions have fueled the political and popular imagination of the region. As early as the 19th century, visionaries discussed ways to link Malmö in Sweden to Copenhagen in Denmark. However, it was only at the end of the 20th century that this dream began to take tangible form. During the Cold War, the proposal for a bridge between two countries with distinct geopolitical positions seemed distant. Denmark, a NATO member, Sweden, traditionally neutral. But with the end of ideological tensions and the rise of the European Union, a new era of cooperation emerged. In 1991, after lengthy negotiations, the Swedish and Danish governments signed an agreement to build the fixed link. The goal was clear: to promote economic, cultural, and social integration between the two nations. Construction officially began in 1995, with an ambitious schedule and significant technical challenges. The Öresund Strait is a crucial maritime route for international traffic, with rough waters and sensitive ecosystems. Any construction there required care, innovation, and respect for the environment. The bridge is, in fact, part of a hybrid system. The link begins in Denmark, with a submerged tunnel of about 2.5 miles, the Drogden Tunnel, which emerges on the artificial island of Peberholm, built specifically for the transition between the tunnel and the bridge. From there, it extends into the impressive Oresund Bridge, about 4¾ miles long, reaching the Swedish coast at Lanaken, near Malmö. The total structure, combining tunnel, island and bridge, measures nearly 10 miles of uninterrupted connection between the two countries. The official inauguration took place on July 1, 2000, with the presence of both monarchs, Queen Margrethe II of Denmark and King Carl XV Gustaf of Sweden. Golden Gate Bridge, United States. The idea of connecting the city of San Francisco to the Marin County region on the opposite side of the narrow entrance to the bay, known as the Golden Gate, dates back to the 19th century. However, the challenge was colossal. The strait, about 1 2/3 miles wide, presented strong currents, powerful winds, constant fog, and a treacherous seabed. Many engineers and civic leaders considered the idea of building a bridge there impossible. It was only in the early decades of the 20th century, amid urban expansion and regional population growth, that the dream began to gain momentum. In 1916, engineer Joseph Strauss presented an initial proposal for a modest and functional drawbridge. Despite its simplicity, the idea reignited public debate. The population began to imagine a future where the geographic isolation of San Francisco would be overcome by an unprecedented structure. The project faced strong resistance. Ferryboat companies, which dominated transportation between the shores, lobbied against construction. In addition, many doubted the technical and economic feasibility of the project. The US Army itself expressed concern about possible interference with military navigation in the bay. Even so, the idea persisted, driven by local leaders and the American spirit of innovation. In the 1930s, with the United States plunged into the Great Depression, the Golden Gate Bridge project gained new momentum. It was seen as an opportunity to create jobs, stimulate the economy, and lift the morale of a shaken population. In 1933, after years of studies, debates, and revisions of the original plan, construction finally began under the leadership of Joseph Strauss, now joined by a team of renowned engineers and architects, including Leon Moissaieff, Irving Morrow, and Charles Alton Ellis. The final design was ambitious, a suspension bridge with a main span of about 4,200 feet, the largest in the world at the time. The towers, about 746 feet high, would be the tallest ever built for a bridge. Construction, which began in January 1933, was a feat of courage and ingenuity. Workers faced violent winds, freezing temperatures, and the constant risk of falls. For the time, safety measures were revolutionary. Protective nets were installed beneath the bridge, saving dozens of lives. On May 27, 1937, the Golden Gate Bridge was inaugurated with great celebration. On the first day, reserved exclusively for pedestrians, about 200,000 people crossed the bridge on foot. The next day, vehicles began to circulate, officially marking the start of a new era for the city of San Francisco. Millennium Bridge, England. The story of the Millennium Bridge begins at the end of the 20th century, specifically in 1996, when an international competition was announced to create a new pedestrian bridge linking two cultural icons, St. Paul's Cathedral on the north bank and the newly opened Tate Modern Art Gallery on the south bank. The proposal was bold, to create a structure that not only facilitated pedestrian flow, but also became an attraction in itself, an architectural landmark for the new millennium. The winning consortium was led by renowned architect Norman Foster, in collaboration with engineers from Arup and artists from the Anthony Caro Sculptural Group. The project featured a revolutionary concept, a laterally suspended bridge with support cables positioned below the walkway level, ensuring an unobstructed view of the London skyline. Aesthetically minimalist, yet technically complex, the bridge was intended as a true celebration of modern engineering. After 4 years of planning and construction, the Millennium Bridge was officially inaugurated on June 10, 2000. However, within just a few hours, the promise of stability and innovation was overshadowed by an unexpected and puzzling phenomenon. The bridge began to sway. Pedestrians crossing the structure reported a strange sensation of side-to-side motion. Some felt dizzy, others instinctively began walking in sync to maintain their balance. What was meant to be a celebration quickly turned into an embarrassment. In only 2 days, the bridge was closed to the public. The British media, always keen to highlight modern mishaps, didn't miss the opportunity. The Millennium Bridge was nicknamed the Wobbly Bridge. What could have caused this phenomenon? A structural failure? A calculation error? The answer came after months of detailed studies conducted by Arup's engineers. They discovered that the bridge's lateral movement was caused by a rare form of resonance known as lateral footfall synchronization. In essence, when a large number of people walk on a structure, their steps, even if initially random, tend to synchronize with the small oscillations of the bridge itself, amplifying the movement exponentially. This phenomenon, though theoretically known, had never before been observed with such intensity in a structure of that scale. Thus, the Millennium Bridge became not only an example of architectural innovation, but also a case study for modern engineering, a bridge that did not fail structurally but socially, revealing how profoundly human behavior can impact feats of engineering. Pont Neuf, France. In the beating heart of Paris, where the Seine River winds gracefully between the city's natural islands and historic banks, stands a bridge that ironically bears the name New, though it is the oldest of all, the Pont Neuf. By the late 16th century, Paris was a cramped and congested city, divided by a river that separated more than it united. The bridges of the time were cluttered with houses, shops, and stalls. They were narrow, dark, and unsafe, where pedestrians, animals, and carts jostled in medieval chaos. It was in this context that the idea arose for a new kind of bridge, clean, wide, open, and above all, modern. King Henry III laid the first stone of the Pont Neuf in 1578, but its construction was interrupted by political and religious crises. Years later, under the reign of Henry IV, the works resumed with vigor. The new monarch understood the symbolic and strategic importance of the bridge, which was meant to unite not only the banks of the Seine, but also the hearts of a nation torn apart by war. Stretching about 780 feet in length, 65 feet wide, and supported by 12 grand arches, the Pont Neuf was officially inaugurated in 1607. Its architecture was innovative. With no buildings atop its surface, it offered Parisians an unobstructed view of the river and the city. It was a bridge for walking, observing, and meeting, a bridge for life. At the center of the bridge on the Ile de la Cité, one of France's first equestrian statues was installed, that of Henry IV himself, the peacemaker king. The monarch's figure, calmly seated on his horse, gazed over the Seine, symbolizing the triumph of order over chaos. The statue was destroyed during the French Revolution and later rebuilt in the 19th century, faithful to the original model, as if time itself had restored memory. The Pont Neuf quickly became the epicenter of Parisian life. Throughout the 17th and 18th centuries, it was the stage for romantic encounters, duels, theatrical performances, public executions, fairs, street cries, and mischief. It was there, amid the crowds, that gossip, scandals, and news spread. Anyone who wanted to know the latest went to the Pont Neuf. Throgs Neck Bridge, United States. We are in the 1950s, a time when the automobile reigned supreme and the suburbs expanded at unprecedented speed. New York City faced a logistical dilemma. Traffic was growing, and existing bridges, such as the Bronx Whitestone, were reaching their limits. A new route was needed, a fresh connection between Long Island and the mainland. The solution came from Robert Moses, the controversial urban planner who shaped much of New York's 20th century infrastructure. Under his leadership, the Throgs Neck Bridge project was conceived as part of a broader highway expansion strategy. The idea was simple: to create an alternate route south of the Bronx Whitestone Bridge, easing congestion and offering a new gateway from Long Island. Construction began in 1957, requiring precise engineering and an enormous logistical effort. The construction site, between the Throgs Neck neighborhood in the Bronx and the Bay Terrace Peninsula in Queens, presented geological and geographical challenges. The area was subject to strong tidal currents, variable depths, and constant maritime traffic. The bridge was designed as a suspension structure, both elegant and functional. Its twin steel towers rise about 140 feet above the water, supporting a deck nearly 3,000 feet long, with 6 traffic lanes that carry tens of thousands of vehicles every day. Including its elevated approaches, the total structure spans more than 2 1/10 miles. On January 11, 1961, the Throgs Neck Bridge was officially inaugurated. Since then, it has become an essential component of New York's transportation system, integrating with the Interstate 295 route and serving as a gateway from Long Island to upstate New York, New Jersey, and beyond. For many New Yorkers, crossing it is a daily ritual, often automatic, almost invisible, but its importance is undeniable. Unlike more celebrated bridges such as the Brooklyn Bridge or the George Washington Bridge, the Throgs Neck does not seek to be monumental. It does not impose itself through architectural grandeur. Instead, its beauty lies in simplicity and efficiency. It is a bridge that does not seek fame. It simply works. Even so, its imposing silhouette on the horizon, especially at sunrise or sunset, offers a scene of rare industrial poetry. The bluish-gray steel reflects both sky and sea, while vehicles trace glowing lines across its roadway. It is a daily dance between man, machine, and landscape. Today, more than 100,000 vehicles cross the Throgs Neck Bridge every day. Charles Bridge, Prague, Czech Republic. Charles Bridge was conceived at a time of transition, in the shadows of collapse and under the light of reconstruction. In the year 1342, a devastating flood destroyed the old Judith Bridge, a Romanesque structure that had linked the city's banks since the 12th century. The loss of the bridge was catastrophic, not only for the city's infrastructure, but also for its spirit. A new bridge was needed, one that could withstand time, war, and nature itself. The task fell to one of medieval Europe's most educated and ambitious monarchs, Charles IV. Charles IV, King of Bohemia and Holy Roman Emperor, was not only a shrewd ruler, but also a visionary. Determined to make Prague a capital worthy of his empire, he saw the bridge as a centerpiece of that vision. On July 9, 1357, at precisely 5 hours and 31 minutes in the morning, construction of the new bridge began. This exact date and time were chosen for their Kabbalistic symbolism, 135797531, a palindromic sequence that, according to the astrologers of the time, would bring luck and balance to the project. The bridge was built under the supervision of architect Peter Parler, the same genius behind St. Vitus Cathedral. Measuring about 1,693 feet long and nearly 33 feet wide, the Charles Bridge was constructed of sandstone and reinforced using innovative techniques for its era. For nearly 5 centuries, it served as the only solid connection between the two sides of the Vltava River, linking the old town, Stare Miesto, to the district of Mala Strana and the Prague castle. For centuries, it was more than a passageway. It was a stage. A setting for royal processions, merchants, artists, beggars, and kings. It was where the sacred met the profane, the sublime met the mundane. The worn stones beneath today's visitors' feet still bear the weight of thousands of journeys, encounters, and farewells. Over time, the bridge became adorned with an impressive collection of Baroque statues. Between the 17th and 18th centuries, renowned sculptors such as Matthias Braun and Ferdinand Brokoff added figures of saints, martyrs, and Christian allegories. In total, there are 30 statues and sculptural groups, most representing Catholic saints venerated in Bohemia. The most famous of all is that of St. John of Nepomuk, who, according to legend, was thrown into the river in 1393 by order of King Wenceslas IV for refusing to reveal the Queen's confessional secrets. Legend has it that touching the statue of St. John of Nepomuk brings good luck and ensures one's return to Prague. Over the centuries, thousands of hands have polished the base of the sculpture, transforming it into an icon of popular devotion. Yet the bridge is not only home to saints. Among the Baroque figures, there are also pagan symbols, enigmatic faces, and gestures that still spark mystical interpretations today.